Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, and welcome to WordStream's November webinar, How to Compete in Google and Facebook, 8 Actions to Take This Month. My name's Amanda, and I'm just here to get things started before I pass it off to our experts. Most of you may know us from our awesome content. We have a killer blog with great thought leadership and a lot of cool free tools that you can use to help gauge your online advertising account status. However, what you guys may not know is that we're also premier partners of Google, Bing, and Facebook. And we have a software that allows you to manage those ad platforms all from one place. It's a great tool to help you become more efficient, use one interface to manage all of those. And we've got some great client success reps here that can help you further your online advertising. Before we get into the content, I just wanted to ask you all, stay connected with us. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you guys are. We have a great network. We have great fans, followers, and we want you all to be a part of that. And last but not least, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be sure to get those materials to your inbox after 48 hours after the webinar today. And last but not least, actually, submit your questions for us today, please. We want this to be beneficial to you. We want this to help you guys out. So please keep your questions coming, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to pass things off to Chris and Emily. You guys are in for a treat. These are some smart people we've got here today. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name's Emily. I am a sales engineer at WordStream. Been here a full year now. In a couple of weeks, it'll be a full year. I actually used the WordStream software at a previous job, so I've already kind of gotten a sneak peek of all the benefits that it offers, the cross-platform reporting and all that fun stuff. A couple of fun facts about me. I do dream about PPC, believe it or not, even though I try not to. I can't help it. I graduated from UMass Amherst in 2015, and I am an avid PC gamer with a custom-built PC. But don't ask me questions about that. Ask me questions about PPC.
And this is Chris. I'm the Associate Director of our Managed Services Department, which is the agency arm of WordStream. Most of you probably know us through our content and our software, but we do have our own internal agency as well. I've actually been with WordStream for just shy of 7 years, 6 years, 11 months if you want to get technical. I'm actually also a graduate of Northeastern University right down the street from our Boston headquarters, so I haven't really left this area in the last decade or so. And much like Emily, I'm a passionate PC gamer and builder and lover of all things sports and travels. With the intros done, we are eager to get started here. As Amanda mentioned, if you have any questions, go ask those and we'll answer those at the end as best we can. So first, a quick little question for all you guys on the line. How many of you feel like you struggle to compete in Google and Facebook ads? Well, trick question, because everybody does. Everyone struggles, from the most novice of advertisers to the most expert of agency managers, and it's almost by design. Google is constantly changing, evolving. Facebook's somewhat new to the scene, but still always changing and evolving. And if you're not constantly working in your accounts and growing your skill set, you will struggle to compete. And that's why we're having this webinar. We're going to give you 8 quick and insightful actions and tips in Google and Facebook ads to take this month to really take your competition to the next level and try and get the best out of your budget. Now you might be asking yourself, why does everyone struggle? Surely there's got to be a recipe to compete. Well, it's pretty simple and straightforward once you actually dig into it. So we're just going to take a quick look at some of the numbers here before we actually go into the tips. Within Google, spending has grown 15% on search ads specifically year over year from Q2 2018 to Q2 2019, and this is not slowing down. This is a trend that happens every year. Google is very good at making money for themselves. Google Ads, the platform, as well as their Google Ad Manager platform, make up about 85 to 90% of their annual revenue. So go figure, they want to keep this growing, keep this working for them, which means also keeping it working for us. And within shopping, that's actually exponentially grown, almost 38% in 1 year. That's a huge amount of money flowing into Google, as well as a huge amount of competition for us, the advertisers, that we have to take into account. And it's not just search and shopping. Google also grows on the actual devices. So desktops are growing a little bit slower, only 6% year over year from Q2 2018 to Q2 2019. But it makes sense why, as we kind of look at the market shifts. And this next stat here, mobile is really the dominant growth mechanism right now. As smartphones become more prevalent both in the United States and globally, this is only going to continue to grow and really hammer home the point that Google wants to make, which is being mobile first and competing in a mobile first environment. Facebook, not to be left behind, is also experiencing great growth. Facebook's ad spend as a whole increased 8% year over year from Q2 2018 to Q2 2019. But more importantly, their impressions grew 25%. So although the spend growth was in single digits, that 25% impression growth is huge because it means that people are efficiently spending their money, and that means that we have to be doing that as advertisers as well if we want to compete in this marketplace. Even more though, Instagram, Facebook's other platform in Facebook ads, grew 85% year over year. This is huge growth, and again, another reason why people struggle to compete, because there's always new people entering the market space, as well as evolving and increasing budgets from the established competition and advertisers in that space. And to highlight that point as well, with efficiency, Instagram impressions grew 208% year over year. That is insane growth, and we don't see that slowing down anytime soon as Instagram just continues to grow in popularity as a platform and an advertising platform. Competition is inevitable though, so we want to make sure everyone's ready for that. In the PPC world, advertisers are constantly increasing spend, shifting where they're spending as the platforms evolve, new platforms come into play. But for this webinar, we're going to look specifically at the big two players, Google and Facebook. And don't fear, this webinar is going to give you some great tips. Emily and I have really worked to figure out what's going to be the most actionable, best items that we can give you in this webinar, and we are eager to get started. So with that all being said, let's start out with Google, the 800-pound gorilla in the marketplace. Our first tip, our first action, is a little straightforward, something that you probably hear from the basic level of our blogs and other content, all the way through account managers if you're a client of ours, and that's just add negative keywords. We often see advertisers and agencies alike failing to routinely add new negative keywords to their accounts, and if you fail to add new negative keywords, you're going to have a bad time. Why will you have a bad time, you might ask? Well, to put it simply, the numbers don't lie. We've talked about growth a lot within spend and impressions, but now we're also just going to look at some other metrics. Notably, some stats taken from a blog post earlier this year by our content team really highlight this issue. Every year, the volume of Google searches grows by roughly 10%, and between 16 to 20% of the searches in total to Google are brand new, meaning they've never been searched before in that exact word order or phrasing, and Google and us as advertisers have never seen them before. These statistics are both important and scary for us as marketers. Not only is search volume naturally growing over time, but upwards of 20% of these searches, like we saw, are brand new. So if we're not constantly adding new negative keywords, we're falling behind our competition and costing ourselves a lot of valuable marketing dollars, especially if you have small budgets to work with compared to your competition, or if you're in an expensive industry cost per click wise. So we want to make sure we're minimizing that scary wasted spend, and the best way to do that is to just always add negative keywords. You want to take action to help improve your performance, stay ahead of the competition, and minimize wasted spend. And to do that, we really recommend keeping yourself to a routine, adding negative keywords at least once a week, whether or not you have to set a calendar reminder, put it down on your to-do list, whatever it might be. At least once a week, go through your account and add these negative keywords, whether it's through the native Google UI or even a third-party tool here, like our very own WordStream's advisor software. Again, it's just crucially important that you add these negatives, because over time, as our software will tell you and our customers will know, these negative keywords spend a lot of money and add up to a lot of wasted spend. Our second tip continues the keyword theme from our first tip, although this time we're going to look at the actual keywords, not just the negative keywords. And what I mean by that is understanding the keyword match types. So less on the content of the keyword itself, but more how the match types work and what you should be doing as an advertiser, as an agency, to maximize your potential within the budget and the market space. First and foremost, Pick the match type that works best for your budget and strategy. With 4 main match types being broad, modified, broad, phrase, and exact out there, it's ever-growingly important to make sure you're leveraging the proper match type. What you don't want to have happen is wasted spend because you picked a broad match type that's matching to anything and everything, whereas exact match might only match to 1 or 2 things and you end up not spending a lot. Well, what happens if I don't? You're probably throwing money away. You might be asking yourself, what happens if I don't consider my PPC budget and goals? And as some of these examples have highlighted, you're literally just throwing that money in the garbage can. If you're a small advertiser with, say, a $20 a day budget and you add keywords on exact match, that's great because you have exactly what that person's searching for, and chances are with that small budget, you're going to spend that full budget daily. But if you have that same $20 budget and put into broad match types, chances are you're going to match to things you don't want to. You're going to end up wasting all that money and likely not even see a conversion. Different match types have different levels of quality and volumes associated with them, which is why we want to make sure we pick the right one. As this example shows, broad match is going to have the largest reach, but the lowest relevancy or the lowest quality, and exact match is going to be the inverse of that. It's going to have the smallest reach, but the highest relevancy. So again, really need to drive home the point of choosing the proper match type for your budget and leveraging them as best you can. An example here kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about. So on broad match, formal shoes can match to anything remotely related to shoes. Formal footwear, evening footwear, men's dress wingtips. It can also match to men's sneakers, women's sneakers, anything that Google thinks is similar to shoes. So to counteract that, we might go to modified broad, where we say, add that plus sign that you see in the example, and now we're telling Google this word has to be in the search term. So if I have modified broad for formal shoes, that means I'm not going to match to men's sneakers. It means I'm only going to match to searches with formal shoes or a misspelling of formal shoes. Phrase match also allows us to capture formal shoes, but in a slightly different manner, where formal shoes has to be in the search exactly in that order, but it can have words or phrases before and after that. And then exact match has to be exactly what we're offering. Formal shoes, nothing else. Understanding the differences in how these match types perform and function is a crucial step we find many advertisers skipping during campaign setup. When considering which match type to leverage, you really have to consider the following factors of campaign objective, aka what your goal is, what you want to accomplish with this campaign, your daily budget, and your expected average cost per click. And that third one, your expected average cost per click, is where we see a lot of people fail because they just skip that step. And as an example, in legal or law, your average cost per click might be anywhere from $50 to $100 for non-branded. Well, if I set a campaign up with a $200 a day budget and I don't take that into account, I might only end up with 1 or 2 clicks a day, and there's almost no way I'm going to get a conversion off that. So again, consider these factors when setting up your campaigns and picking your match types.
All right, now it's my turn. We're going to talk a little bit about audience overlaying in Google. So this is really important for any advertiser that's looking to go after a specific demographic or a particular market segment. So essentially this should apply to most everybody that's on this webinar today. If you're advertising for something like employment, credit, or housing, audiences won't be as great a fit for your account, but for most advertisers, there's a useful way to direct your ad spend towards the markets that you know are more likely to do business with you and convert on your website. For search, these are kind of the main options that we're looking at. You can layer in audiences based on users' web behavior, their search patterns, which would be these top 2, where you have the affinity, custom affinity, and in-market audiences. But for search, we also have the ability to layer in your website visitors as an audience, so that if someone searches for your business again, you can bid up on those people to ensure you get the top position on the search engine results page and bring those people back into your website. There are 2 ways to overlay an audience into your search campaigns, and they take these 2 modes. You have observation mode and targeting mode. In observation mode, it's kind of like your data collection mode. So you can layer this audience in, collect data on it, and use it to later make decisions in your account. And if someone in the audience makes a search that triggers your ad, the data will populate there. So you can see how many impressions, clicks, and conversions are associated with it without placing any aggressive bid adjustments there. But if you choose to, and you have your audience in observation mode, you can bid up on folks that are in your audience. And I'll show you guys an example in a moment. In targeting mode, this is a much more restrictive audience mode where you're telling Google to only show your ads to someone if they are in that audience. It's very useful for very specific objectives or really niche products and services where you don't want anybody who falls outside of that criteria to see your ads. But in targeting mode, you can still adjust how much more or less you're willing to pay for a click from that audience if you have multiple in each one and you want to kind of tier the priorities. So in this example, I'm setting up an audience. I'm a cosmetics brand that's looking to target beauty enthusiasts, and I want to target them a little bit more aggressively for search because I know that they're more likely to buy from me. So I'm running a campaign where I'm trying to sell my bronzer product. And I want to run a test to see if somebody who's interested in beauty services and beauty products will perform better compared to the rest of people searching for bronzers. So in this case, I've chosen observation mode for my bronzer campaign. I always recommend putting the audiences in observation mode beforehand so that you can monitor performance, identify some trends, collect a little bit of data if you're unsure of how much you want to bid up or down on this audience. And if I wanted to restrict my campaign to show only ads to searchers who are beauty enthusiasts, in that case, I would select targeting. Now my audience is set up. I'm ready to start layering it into my search campaign. And in this case, I've decided to bid up 20% on people who are in market for beauty products and services. The next Google action is going to be all around the ads themselves. So ad refreshes and optimizations that you can make in your account today to stay more competitive. If you look at the ads on this screen, this is my example dog toy company. This section is for you if your ads look anything like this. Both of these ads are using legacy ad formats. So the single headline and the two headlines are both outdated ad formats in Google. We actually will see that they'll struggle to compete with more modern ads that my competitors might be running. The newest ad format in Google actually allows us to put 3 headlines and 2 descriptions, and Google's been a little bit more generous with the character limit on our descriptions. We actually get 10 more characters. This is huge to take advantage of. Take advantage of any added text space that Google is going to give you because you can add more language into your ads to improve the relevancy to your keywords, which in turn will lift those quality scores. This is how I feel when I see legacy text ads, truly. Google is giving you all of this free additional ad space. How could you not be taking advantage of that opportunity? Now let's take a look at what these updated text ads look like. This is an example of text ads that are using the most modern ad formats available. So you can see that I have 3 headlines, 2 descriptions, taking all of that available ad space down to the character, and I've added site links, which also take advantage of that free copy space. I feel a whole lot better about the way these ads look. They're much more competitive. They take up more page real estate on the search engine results page. And again, they're more likely to lift my quality score because I'm able to add more relevant information. If I need to stay competitive, this is a great way to do so. So a couple of key points to remember in your ad refresh. When you go in and you're starting to think of new copy, you want to try to test at least 3 ads in your ad group to ensure that Google has enough to rotate through to the users that are searching for your business. I can't tell you how many times I've seen ad groups that contain copy and pasted ads where the headlines and descriptions don't actually change from ad to ad. You need to make sure you're switching things up, give some variability. And lastly, be sure to always reassess your ad copy. Don't wait too long before going in and actually optimizing your existing ad groups. Look at your best performing ad and continue testing variations on it. Pause the ones that have a lower click-through rate. This is an ongoing effort. And like Chris had mentioned earlier, search behavior is changing. Searches are always going to be brand new to Google, and you want to make sure that you stay on the cutting edge of that changing search behavior. Your competitor is going to be creative, and you need to make sure to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to your brand messaging and the way that you message your value propositions. Now we're going to move into 4 actions that you can take in Facebook this month. First action is going to be around designing your ads to your core platform. So what I mean by that is the core platforms that the Facebook ads network actually offers. Because Facebook ads are so much more than just simple newsfeed ads. Facebook is actually comprised of Facebook itself, Instagram, the Messenger, and the Audience Network, which is a greater network of websites that show Facebook ads within them. And each platform has its own best practices for formatting the ads. And believe it or not, simple tweaks to the copy and your call to action can really make or break the ad experience for your potential customers. So it's important to think about where your user is going to see this ad. This is an example of a not so great ad for Facebook mobile. So you can see this is my example dog toy company again. And here I've done a pretty poor job of telling my audience what to focus on. Because I know that they're going to be on a mobile device, I want this ad to really spoon feed them what action I want them to take next. So for starters, my primary text at the top there is actually too long and is running over the available space. My user is pretty unlikely to click the See More button when there's so many distractions already. I'm also using the headline space that you can see below as a call to action, which is redundant with my Shop Now button. It's kind of competing for my user's attention. Not to mention that my description below the headline is also running over the available space. It's really information overload. I'm giving my user way too much to focus on. I need to streamline this ad. Let's see what a couple of improvements can do. First off, slight changes to this ad are already giving it a more polished and professional look. The text at the top of the ad is no longer truncated, meaning that anyone who sees the ad is going to see all of it without having to click See More. This is going to be optimized for the mobile experience first and the desktop experience as well. Plus, my Shop Now button is my main call to action with far fewer distractions, and I'm using that headline space much more appropriately. The next Facebook action that we want you to take is testing different ad types in the same ad set. I can't tell you how many times I've audited a Facebook account, and when I look into an ad set, I notice that a lot of advertisers make the mistake of only testing one format in their ad set. It's always a best practice to test different images, different variations of your ad copy to see what resonates best with your audience. But this type of ad can make or break the experience too. You don't have to set up your ad sets in this way. There are a lot of ways to leverage Facebook's automation to dynamically insert your images, dynamically insert your copy, and instead make full use of that ad group by testing different formats. And by formats, we mean this. This is an example ad set for my dog toy company. In this example, I'm testing 3 different ads. One is a series of videos. The next is that image ad that we looked at before. And the third is taking my products themselves and putting them into a carousel ad without showing them in context. Now, this is really going to allow me to see which images will perform best and what ad type is going to resonate best and get somebody to actually come and make a purchase on my website. So what I'm really trying to test here is, do images with dogs in them perform better, or do the product images alone perform better? Lastly, really important to note that I did allude to earlier, Facebook has a dynamic creative as an option in your ads. So there's no need to go and copy and paste your ads only for the sake of changing your headline text or changing out the images. You can actually add variations of the images and the copy into one single ad, and Facebook will dynamically display that combination, and it will best suit that particular person that's sitting in your audience, and it will be in line with your campaign objectives. So there's no need to duplicate your efforts, duplicate ads for the sake of duplicating them. Let's make meaningful changes here.
Thank you for that, Emily. Some awesome advice right there. This is Chris again. I'm going to take you back into the last 2 Facebook actions we have. First and foremost, what I want to address is switching to campaign level budgets. If you're a fan of WordStream or follow our content, you know we've been pushing this since it was announced earlier this year, but we still find so many advertisers aren't leveraging these new budgets. In most cases, the daily budget for any given ad set is way too low, and the ad itself then won't get enough historical data for Facebook algorithms to really optimize who it's going to show to and allow the algorithms to identify the person that's most likely to convert so we can improve our performance, get more for our budget, and again, compete in the Facebook ads environment. What we want to have happen is really leveraging these campaign level budgets here, where we can say, hey, I don't want to have a single budget by ad set. I want just one total budget that you can use to optimize however you want. Get me that info, get me that historical data that I, as the advertiser, can then use to make my own educated, informed decisions rather than either guessing or just making poor decisions because I didn't have enough data and I didn't get enough good data. Once an ad set has a good bulk amount of data behind it, the platform will really start to optimize the audience that it's serving to, in that it will start showing to an audience that's more likely to convert. Switching to these campaign level budgets allows the platform to optimize the ad set in the most efficient manner, and again, gives us good data to work with so we can make these educated, informed decisions to really stretch our marketing budget as best we can and compete in a world where you're going up potentially against the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebooks, the eBays of ads who have hundreds of thousands of dollars a month that they can spend. The last Facebook action is a little more in depth than the one I just covered, but definitely something we want to make sure we include here because it is something we see happen very frequently. And what I mean by that is we see almost every advertiser that comes to us not align their bid strategy with their campaign's objective or the campaign goal, meaning what is this campaign supposed to do? What is the measure of success that I will look at this campaign under a microscope with? Unlike Google, which is fairly straightforward and linear with its bidding strategies, Facebook actually breaks out its bidding strategy into two separate pieces called buying type and campaign objective. So first, before we get into the actual bidding strategies, we're going to do a brief overview of those two parts so we can understand the entirety of Facebook's system. First and foremost, you want to ensure your campaign's buying type, which is, again, one of those two pieces that we can set, and campaign objective are properly set. Facebook has numerous campaign objectives that advertisers can choose from, and it can very much feel overwhelming at times if you don't know where to start or what to even look at. And these options will also change depending on the buying type you select. With the auction buying type, like you can see here, having more options than the reach and frequency type. And it's at a base level, although not a one-to-one comparison, I like to phrase it this way. Think of the buying type, auction, as a cost per click or CPC model, whereas the reach and frequency is more of a cost per thousand impression or cost per mil CPM model. Again, not a one-to-one comparison to how Google does bids, but fairly close and a very simplistic way to look at it and understand it. But what does this mean? Well, at a high level, you want to make sure your campaign objective matches your campaign goal. For example, select the auction buying type and catalog sales campaign objective if you're an e-commerce company, like Emily's previous example, selling products through Facebook. Or selecting the auction buying type and campaign objective that makes sense for you. So if you're lead gen, we might want to look at traffic or conversions instead of catalog purchase sales. Unfortunately, though, once a campaign has been created, you can't go back and edit the buying type or objective. So consider this an action to take for any new campaign you build, as well as check your current campaigns to make sure these are in alignment. If they're not in alignment, you're frequently going to have poor performance, and this might be why you struggle to compete in Facebook or struggle to make the most of your marketing dollars. Now that we've covered the basics, we're going to get to the meat of the matter, the bidding system. Picking the appropriate bid strategy can be intimidating with all the options Facebook has, but ensuring your bid strategy aligns with your campaign's goal is crucial for the success of that campaign and its ability to compete. excuse me, while we cover the specific details of the 6 currently available bid strategies, we're not going to go into too much detail. So I encourage you to read up on these on your own as well. We're going to give you a bit of a high-level overview with some insight and examples. But again, definitely go out to Facebook's resources or even WordStream's resources and learn more about these systems. No surprise here that the top 2 most used bidding strategies in Facebook can also be applied to the most types of campaign objectives. As you can see by the screenshot, these are lowest cost and bid cap. Of the 6 currently available bid strategies, lowest cost is the only truly automated one Facebook has, removing all control from the advertiser and giving it to Facebook. This is something that we recommend you use if you're new to Facebook or you're not really sure exactly what data you're going to get or how to optimize just yet. This takes all that control away from you, lets Facebook do its own algorithmic and artificial intelligence-based optimizations, so it's a way to maximize your performance if you're not sure what to do or where to start. Although again, WordStream has plenty of resources available that you can read up on. Following closely behind the lowest cost and bid cap strategies, cost cap can be applied to most of the campaign objectives in Facebook, though it's not as widely used as the previous 2. And once we get to the 4th bidding option, target cost, we also start to see a switch from more generalized bidding strategies to performance-based bidding strategies that you can set as a campaign objective. For most of you attending this webinar, target cost and the final two strategies we'll cover on the next slide will be the ones you look at if you want to have performance-based campaigns. And what I mean by performance-based is an actionable item or goal, like a purchase, a sign-up, a lead generation, versus something more branding and reach-focused, like a video campaign to extend your brand's awareness. The final 2 bidding strategies are similar to target cost as well, in that they are performance oriented. However, you may have guessed by the names, value optimization and highest value, they almost exclusively apply to e-commerce campaigns where revenue or conversion value is being tracked. And for all you e-com advertisers and agencies out there, I really recommend looking at these 2 and reading up on them, because they can elevate your performance and elevate your competition within the Facebook ads platform. So now what? Well, now you're a pro. Congratulations, everyone. You fully mastered and are prepared to take action and to compete in Google and Facebook ads. But before we open up to Q&A, we want to just quickly recap the 8 points we covered. Point 1, adding negative keywords in Google. Again, a crucial step, very common to do initially, but most people we find don't keep up with that routine or consistently do it after their first month or 2. Understanding your match types, point 2. Again, just making sure that you understand the differences in how these match types are going to perform and how that's going to affect your budget and overall campaign performance. So if you want to go with something that's more likely to convert, but you have a small budget, exact match might be where you look at. Or if you want something that's more branding and reach focused, where you want impressions and potentially website traffic, but don't care as much about a conversion or a website form fill, you might go with broad or modified broad. Audience overlaying, another crucial step to give Google's machine learning and artificial intelligence systems additional insights into your target market, as well as a way to tell Google, as Emily showed, I'll pay X%, in Emily's case 20% more, if this user falls into the specific audience category and they're searching for my keyword, because I know they're more likely to convert than your average user, so I'll tell Google I'll pay a little bit more for that. And then the last Google optimization, ad refresh and optimizations. This is something, as Emily said, should always be going on in an account. Should never not be testing ads or looking at ad performance, mostly, as we covered, because of the amount of new searches to Google on a monthly and yearly basis. There's going to be new keywords to add, new negatives to add, new searches to put into your ad to make sure it's as relevant as possible. And if you're not keeping up with this, you're going to fall behind. Switching to Facebook, you want to make sure you design the ads to the platform. So not just having an ad that looks nice, but also will perform as best as it can for that specific platform. I won't go back into too much detail. Emily did a great job of covering that. But again, designing ads to that platform is the biggest pitfall I would say I see as an account manager with accounts that we take on. The second Facebook tip is just testing different ad types. In that same vein, you want to make sure you're always testing. Much like Google, use all the formats available, test different languages, test different calls to action, and just make sure the ads look polished and professional. The third tip, campaign level budgets. This is something that's pretty simple and straightforward. It's just a matter of switching from ad sets to campaign, but it can make a world of difference in terms of how Facebook's algorithms optimize your performance, as well as getting in actionable and accurate, to a certain extent, data. And then the last piece, aligning your bid strategy. This is probably the most advanced part of Facebook, definitely more advanced than Google's bidding system. So we recommend, again, reading up on it more outside of what we've told you in this webinar, but aligning the bid strategy is probably the most crucial step to improve performance and sustainable performance in Facebook.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris and Emily. That was incredible. That was tons of information. You guys are super smart, and I'm sure people learned a lot today. But it was very high level. It was a lot of information. So we've got a special offer for everyone on the line today. If you're interested in getting, a little more insight into how these actions can be applied to your specific account and your strategy on Google and Facebook, let us know. We'll hook you up with an expert like Chris or Emily, and they can walk you through how these actions can be applied to your data and your strategy. And while you guys are letting us know about that, I'd love to jump into some questions that came through while we were on the line. So, one thing that people were asking is, is there a certain platform that's better in particular industries? Do certain types of businesses or industries favor one platform over the other?
Sure, I can take that. So I would say that for anybody who's in the e-com space, you probably want to be diversified as much as you can. So, doing some search-based campaigns with Google or even with Bing, combined with some brand awareness on Facebook, should help bring you, a healthy stream of data coming in. But if you're more of an intent-based industry like home services, say that you're a plumber or an electrician, you probably want to go more on the search side because you're actually getting at people who have a need at that moment in time. So just think about whether your customers are actively searching for you or whether they need to be educated a little bit. And if they need to be educated, you may want to look at a paid social platform like Facebook.
Awesome. And then we had tons of questions come through actually during the negative keyword portion. So I was curious if one of you could just give us a little refresher on what a negative keyword is, first of all, and then also, is there a point of saturation? How often should you be adding negative keywords? I know you said new searches happen every year, but what about for those niche industries? Just a little more recap on negative keywords would be great.
Yeah, so this is Chris. I can take that one. Negative keywords are essentially just searches the user enters that you don't want to show for. So going back to the example I had in that screenshot, say I'm a cloud storage provider for businesses and I only want business-based cloud storage. Well, if somebody's searching for free iCloud storage enhancement, that's not something I want to show up for. They're clearly looking for a expansion of their iPhone or whatever Apple device they're using's cloud-based storage, and that's not something we can service. So I would add that as a negative. Whereas if somebody's searching for enterprise business cloud storage provider, that's right in line with what I want. So I would never add that as a negative, and in fact, I'd probably even add that as a keyword. Negatives are crucial, and I don't really think there is a point of saturation. As a 7-year veteran of WordStream as an account manager, I spend at minimum an hour per week in every single account adding just negatives. So on top of all the other work I do, I'm doing just an hour's worth of negatives a week. And if it's an account that spends a lot or just has a lot of search volume, that might even go to 2 or 3 hours a week, every week, never stopping. And this is really trying to highlight how crucially important it is. And I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to reduce your wasted spend and improve your overall performance, negative keywords are the simplest, easiest thing you can leverage to do so.
Awesome. And I'm actually putting a link into the chat for everyone. We have a tool that will help you identify the keywords that are causing you the most wasted spend. It's called our Google Ads Performance Grader. So feel free to take that first spin. It's totally free. Just connect your Google Ads account to it and it'll give you a report full of analysis and different actionable items that you can take advantage of. Alrighty, let's see what else was out there. Someone was talking about CPIs on Google, cost per install. Does Facebook have anything like that for apps or metrics in terms of that stuff?
Yeah, Facebook has a lot of different metrics around apps and installs. We didn't cover anything really specific to that, but Facebook does have very similar metrics for apps like cost per install, cost per download, cost per engagement, whatever you want to call it. It's really just the same statistic. And if you have apps and download of your app is the main goal, that's definitely the metric you want to be looking at.
Awesome. Another question came through. This person's a B2B advertiser. Should they be using Facebook and Instagram? Like, how are they hitting their B2B clients on Instagram, for example?
That's a great question. I think a really common misconception with Facebook and Instagram is that it's not well suited for a B2B audience, but what we found is that it actually, because it has demographic targeting options that rival the Google Display Network, it is a great way to get at your B2B target audience, potentially on a place where they might not expect you, but they still may engage with your content. One great example that I've seen, I get B2B advertising ads on Instagram fairly often for different kinds of analytics platforms, and I see a lot of video previews of, somebody actually using that software in context, and I find that really engaging, and I found myself actually clicking into these websites to look and see what the platform can do, and then they can remarket to me later on a desktop or on a different network where maybe I'm actually sitting down at my work computer and I'm more likely to take that next step and fill out their form. So this could be a great way to serve some of that upper funnel and again, get at a very specific demographic that you're going after.
And just to add to that, much like Google, Facebook actually has as advanced, if not more so, demographic and interest-based targeting. So you can really leverage that and layer that onto your Facebook campaign to go after that B2B market specifically and get rid of your average consumer or person who's just not looking for your product.
Alrighty, awesome. And then someone asked about the ad refresh tip. So where can you find which style you're currently using if you don't know if you're in the old format or the new? Is there a place that kind of labels that for you?
Yeah, so you should be able to see this right in the Google Ads platform, or even if you're in the WordStream software, essentially just looking at the way that the ad looks. If it only has a single headline or two headlines and a single description, then you know that that ad is outdated. If it is the full version, then you should be able to see all three headlines and both descriptions displayed in the platform, even if Google doesn't show them every single time. So it would be just a matter of going in, looking at your ads, and you'll be able to see it right there.
And one shameless plug, WordStream actually has quite a few blog posts exactly on this topic, so I really recommend you check those out if you want to learn more.
Awesome, love that. Alrighty, so one kind of overarching question. So, what do you think is a favorite, Facebook or Google? Which is better, or are they truly just better together?
I'd venture to say that they're better together for most advertisers. So, if you're going after someone who has intent, like let's say that I am this cosmetics company, I probably want to take a two-pronged approach where I'm looking to capture people who are actively searching for my products, but I'm also going to supplement that audience with something like Facebook where I'm educating people on the fact that I exist, but doing it in a targeted way where I'm looking after people who already have interest in this. So I think that they work really well as we use that B2B example for either a B2C or a B2B audience. And you just have to think about, how much of my business is coming in from intent-based, search traffic versus people who I'm actually capturing in the moment and educating that I exist. And that will help you make better decisions around how much budget to put into search versus display versus paid social.
Awesome. And we just had another great question come through. How often should they be changing up their creative in Facebook and Instagram? Every week, every month? Is there a cadence there?
Great question. So the average learning period for Facebook does tend to be around 7 to 14 days. So I would be looking at that data twice a month and then potentially making some refreshes there. If you're happy with performance after a 14-day learning period, maybe leave it for another 2 weeks and then reassess it after a month's time.
Awesome. So we have a lot of questions coming through still that are very industry specific, and I'm going to work on connecting some people with industry experts here at WordStream for those. But we did have one question from Chris Evans. I don't know if he's still on the line. He's curious, what are your favorite games as gamers here?
I knew that might happen. So currently I am playing Assassin's Creed, and I also play League of Legends almost every day.
Yeah, I generally mix it up, but right now I'm playing a lot of Apex Legends, Death Stranding, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So I'm going to give everyone on the line 15 minutes back in their day. Again, for these more industry and business specific questions, I'm going to try to connect you with an industry expert here and give you a little more personalized answer to those. But thank you so much for everyone joining us. This was a really interactive podcast. Yeah, this was a really interactive webinar, and we hope you learned a lot. And we also hope to see you on next month's webinar with WordStream. Thank you.